The lights in the command hall dimmed. A single hollow screen flickered alive, casting blue light across our faces. My pulse was hammering, though I tried to sit still. I wasn't supposed to even be here. A second-year technician, barely cleared for deep sky ops, sitting shoulder to shoulder with legends. A voice cut through the silence. Crew of the Odyssey, you've been selected for a mission that exceeds precedent. What I'm about to disclose is classified at the highest level. I sat forward. My throat felt dry. Captain Holt leaned back, his tone steady. We're listening, Admiral. The hollow shifted, revealing an orb suspended in black. At first it looked like a star, then I realized it was reflecting light, not emitting it. 4 months ago, the Admiral continued, our deep sky probes confirmed anomalies on Gliese-Delta 4b. Until now, we believed it to be a barren moon orbiting a gas giant. Our readings were wrong. The planet is solid. Its surface registers as glass. Dr. Kale spoke up, his voice carrying that rough edge of disbelief. Impossible. A crust of silicates, sure, but an entire world of glass? That doesn't occur naturally. Dr. Vera leaned in, her tone sharper. Unless it isn't natural at all. The Admiral didn't flinch. That is precisely why you're going. Surface scans revealed patterns, too regular to be geological. Reflections forming symmetrical arrays. Some even resemble structures. I felt my chest tighten. A planet covered in glass that looked like it had buildings. It sounded like something from the kind of hollow books I'd read under my blanket as a kid. Except this was real. Captain Holt's voice broke the tension. You want us to land? Yes. Land. Explore. Record. And if possible, connect. The Odyssey will transport you across 68 light years. Mission time. 3 months out, 3 months back. This is no ordinary survey. You're not just charting a planet. You're making first contact with whatever intelligence may have shaped it. My hand twitched against my leg. First contact. The words vibrated in my skull. The hollow dimmed. The Admiral's gaze swept across us. Your names will not be written in history, yet. What you find may redefine it. Dismissed. The corridor outside felt colder. I walked fast to keep up with the others. Captain Holt's stride was heavy, like he carried the entire ship on his shoulders. Dr. Vera broke the silence. A world of glass. It could be crystalline life. If the structures are repeating, that suggests some form of growth. Dr. Kale scoffed. Growth doesn't build cities. This is architecture. If it's real, it's artificial. Holt glanced back at me. You've been quiet, Ren. Thoughts? I swallowed. Just trying to wrap my head around it, sir. If it's glass, how do we land without cracking it? He gave a rare half-smile. Good question. That's why you're coming. To help us figure it out. I nodded, but inside I felt the weight. I wasn't here just as a passenger. I was expected to keep Odyssey alive on a world that wasn't supposed to exist. The launch came 2 days later. The Odyssey's engines ignited with a thunder that rattled my ribs. I strapped in, eyes flicking across systems displays. Everything held steady. We left Earth's orbit behind, accelerating toward the star bridge array that would slingshot us across the void. Hours blurred into days. The ship hummed like a living thing. I spent most of the voyage buried in consoles, running diagnostics, checking and rechecking the stress tolerances of our landing struts. At night, when the others were in their quarters, I floated in the observation deck, staring at the endless dark. I tried to imagine what a planet of glass would look like under starlight. Every time the image shifted, a mirror, a jewel, a trap. Dr. Vera often joined me there. She had a restless energy, always sketching notes on her slate. You ever think about how fragile we are out here? She asked once, her voice low. All the time, I said. She gave me a smile, thin and tired. Good. Means you're not arrogant. Space kills arrogance first. On the 91st day, the gas giant appeared. It loomed in the viewport like a swollen bruise, bands of crimson and violet swirling in violent storms. Orbiting it, small, glinting, impossible, was our destination. Dr. Kale muttered, almost reverently, there it is. Delta 4b. The planet spun slowly, catching the light of its sun. It wasn't dull or opaque like a normal world. It gleamed, blinding at times, scattering beams in every direction. Even from space, it looked alive. Captain Holt's voice was calm, controlled. Brace for descent. We'll aim for a level plateau on the equator. No telling what the surface will do to the hull. Dr. Vera whispered, "It's too perfect. A crust of glass doesn't just happen." I pressed my hand to the viewport, unable to stop staring. She was right. The surface didn't look random. It shimmered in geometric patches, as though something had laid the glass deliberately. The ship rattled as we hit atmosphere. Static crackled across comms. My readouts flashed with warning symbols, temperature spikes, hull stress. My fingers flew over controls, balancing systems, feeding coolant into the shield matrix. Sweat slid down my neck. "Hold it steady, Ren," Hold ordered. "I've got it," I said, though my heart was pounding. The clouds broke. The surface stretched below us, vast and smooth, reflecting the sunlight like a sea frozen mid-wave. We touched down with a shudder. The landing struts groaned, but held. The Odyssey went still. Silence filled the cabin. I was the first to unbuckle, my legs unsteady as I moved toward the airlock. My reflection followed me in every surface, pale and nervous. When the ramp lowered, light hit us like knives. The ground outside was smooth, cold, reflective enough to show my face. Dr. Vera whispered beside me, "You see that? Over there, looks like a city." I blinked hard. At first I thought it was a trick of light. Towers, arches, roads. But they shimmered, bending like heat haze, vanishing when I looked too long. I shook my head. No, it wasn't there a second ago. It's moving, like a mirage. The structures shifted again, forming lines, then breaking apart. My throat went dry. I whispered, "That's not a city. It's a message." The silence after my words hung heavy, broken only by the low hum of the Odyssey cooling from descent. Captain Holt stood beside me, squinting into the haze. Message or not, we're not standing around guessing. Helmets sealed. We move. The ramp vibrated as his boots hit first. Dr. Vera followed, her breath audible over comms, half awe, half nerves. Dr. Kale muttered something about ground samples and slung his pack over his shoulder. I brought up the rear, double-checking the stabilizers strapped to my suit. The planet's gravity pulled at me just a little harder than Earth's. Enough to notice, not enough to drag. The glass stretched in every direction. Each step rang faintly, a sound like tapping crystal with a fingernail. My reflection stared up at me from beneath my boots, warped by microscopic ridges that caught the sun in 1,000 glittering fragments. Dr. Vera crouched, running her gloved fingers along the ground. Cold, polished, but there's no fracture lines. How is this plate even formed? Kale snapped. "Don't lick it while you're at it. Save us samples." He planted a probe, and it drilled down with a thin whine. The glass resisted until sparks spat from the bit. Harder than quartz, nearly diamond tough. Holt's voice cut in. "Focus, both of you. Look up." We did. The city was clear now. Not just towers, bridges, walls. Everything stretched and bent like molten glass frozen mid-flow. Except it wasn't solid. The structures rippled, here 1 second, gone the next. I couldn't stop staring. "It's closer than before." Vera shook her head. "That's impossible. Mirages don't move toward you." Kale's voice was a growl. "Then it isn't a mirage." Holt raised his arm. "Form up." We approach, slowly. The march was unnerving. The horizon never shifted, yet the shapes grew taller, sharper. Shadows rippled across the glass under our feet, though no clouds passed above. My throat felt tight under the helmet, each breath too loud. Then I froze. "Stop. Did you see that?" Holt glanced back. "What?" I pointed ahead. "By the archway. Something moved." Kale snorted. "Heat shimmer." But even as he said it, I knew he was wrong. I'd seen a shape, humanoid, translucent, standing perfectly still before melting back into the haze. Vera whispered, "I saw it too." The silence after that was worse than noise. We kept moving, every step crunching faintly like thin ice under boots. The closer we came, the stronger the shapes became, until there was no denying them. Dozens of figures, standing like statues at the base of the phantom structures. Holt stopped, lifting his hand. Holt! The figures weren't solid. They shimmered like molten glass, each one shaped roughly human but stretched, faceted, refracting sunlight through their limbs. They stood in rows, motionless, heads angled toward us. Vera's breath caught. They look carved. Kale muttered, "They're not carved. They're alive." I swallowed hard. The nearest figure's arm shifted slightly, like liquid catching wind. Its face, or what passed for one, was a smooth, blank plane reflecting my helmet back at me. My voice cracked. "Are they guarding it?" Holt's jaw tightened. "Doesn't matter. We don't provoke. We advance." We took 3 steps before the first one moved. The glass guardian tilted its head, light sliding across it like oil. A low hum vibrated through the ground, rattling my teeth. Then, in eerie unison, every figure shifted, turning toward us. Vera's voice rose. "They're reacting." Kale's hand went to his belt instinctively, though he carried no heavy weapons. This wasn't supposed to be a combat mission. "Hold position," Holt barked. The Guardians stepped forward. Their movement was fluid, soundless, each step leaving no mark on the glass. Their bodies bent light, so sharply I had to squint just to track them. I whispered, "Captain, they're surrounding us." The air shimmered, and the phantom city pulsed brighter, as if drawing power from their motion. The structures became almost solid, glass towers locking into place, roads crystallizing beneath our boots. The illusion was no longer illusion. We stood at the threshold of a city that hadn't existed a heartbeat ago. Holt's voice was steady but low. "No sudden moves. Helmets on record. Everything's data." Vera whispered, half to herself, "It's responding. The planet's responding to us." One of the Guardians stopped directly in front of me. I could see my reflection fractured across its chest, split into dozens of mirrored shards. My hands trembled inside the suit. "Nova," Holt said quietly, "don't move." I froze, heart pounding. The Guardian raised an arm. Its hand unfolded like petals of glass, each shard bending light into a spectrum that spilled across my visor. It touched my helmet, gently, carefully. A surge of vibration passed through me. Not sound exactly, but sensation like a chord struck on the inside of my bones. Images flickered across my vision, too fast to process. Shapes, patterns, a spiral turning into a lattice. A planet beating like a heart. Then it was gone. The Guardian withdrew its hand. I staggered back, breath ragged. Vera's voice crackled in my ear. "What happened?" I don't know." I pressed a hand against my chest, as if to hold myself steady. It showed me something, like it was trying to talk. Kale shook his head, voice edged with fear. "Or it was scanning you." Holt's eyes locked on me. "What did you feel, Ren?" I struggled to find the words. "Not hostile. Just curious." The Guardians hadn't advanced again. They stood still now like they were waiting. Behind them, the city pulsed once, twice, then stabilized, gleaming as solid as any city I'd ever seen. Holt exhaled slowly. "Then maybe we've just been invited inside." The Guardians parted like a tide, silent and deliberate. The city behind them pulsed faintly, walls shimmering with shifting reflections, like light caught in water. Captain Holt's voice was calm, but every word was edged. "Stay tight. Helmets on full record. No one wanders." We stepped forward as a group, the Guardians falling into place along the edges, not escorting exactly, more like watching. Dr. Vera's voice trembled with awe. "This isn't construction. It's growth. Look at the edges, smooth, flowing. It's like coral, glass coral." Dr. Kale muttered, "Growth doesn't form arches. That's engineering. Someone designed this." Holt cut in. "Speculation later." Eyes open. We entered the city. My boots clinked against the surface, the sound swallowed quickly by the vast expanse around us. Towers stretched high, but they weren't straight. They twisted, bent, braided together, refracting sunlight into cascading rainbows. The strangest part was the air. It wasn't empty. The space shimmered faintly, as if filled with microscopic shards drifting like dust. When I lifted my hand, they parted, then swirled back into place. I whispered, "It's alive in here." Vera answered without hesitation, "Yes, this isn't architecture, it's organism. We're walking inside a body." Kale scoffed, but softer this time. "Then this planet is the size of God." We moved deeper. The towers gave way to open courtyards, surfaces patterned with hexagonal ridges like honeycomb. The reflections around us shifted constantly, so much that I sometimes saw versions of myself moving half a second out of sync. It made me dizzy. Vera stopped suddenly. "Do you hear that?" We all froze. At first I thought it was feedback in comms, but then I caught it, a faint, resonant hum, low and steady, vibrating through the glass. Kale frowned. "Seismic activity?" Holt shook his head. "No tremors. It's something else." I swallowed. "It's coming from ahead." And it was. The hum was guiding us. The towers ended abruptly, giving way to something I couldn't have imagined. A forest. Glass trees rose from the surface, dozens of meters tall, trunks twisting like strands of molten crystal frozen mid-sway. Their branches fanned out in translucent canopies, scattering sunlight into kaleidoscopes across the ground. Every gust of planetary wind sent a ripple through them, like chimes vibrating in silence. Vera's voice broke with wonder. "This is impossible." Kale's reply was quieter than usual. "No, it's something else. This is intentional. It's leading us somewhere." I found myself whispering, "We're walking through stained glass that breathes." Holt took a step forward. "Stay sharp. This place looks fragile, but I don't think it wants to break." The deeper we went, the stronger the hum became. It wasn't just sound anymore. It was inside me, thrumming through my chest. Every step I took, the rhythm adjusted, syncing with my pulse. Vera clutched her slate against her chest. "It's adapting. The signal, it's calibrating to us." Kale muttered, "You don't calibrate unless you intend to communicate." Holt's jaw was set. "Then let's find a transmitter." The forest opened into a clearing. At the center stood a monolith. Not carved, not built. It had risen like a single flawless shard of blackened glass, 20 meters tall, edges razor-sharp, surface rippling faintly with iridescence. Unlike the rest of the forest, it wasn't reflecting light. It absorbed it. The hum was deafening now, though only inside my bones. My knees almost buckled as I stepped closer. Vera whispered, "It's a conduit." Kale frowned. "To what?" I found myself speaking before I even thought. "To it. The planet." They all turned toward me. Holt's eyes narrowed. "Explain, Ren." I shook my head. "I don't know how I know. I just know. Ever since that guardian touched me, I feel it. This isn't just a structure. It's a voice. It wants to talk." Holt studied me for a long moment. Then he said, "Step back, Ren. We test this carefully." But the monolith pulsed suddenly, once a ripple of color sliding down its length. My visor dimmed automatically, shielding my eyes from the glare. And then, contact. Not sound. Not image. Thought. I staggered, clutching my helmet. The monolith's surface filled my vision, and behind it came impressions, like dreams bleeding into waking. A lattice of glowing veins spreading through a planet. Creatures of glass moving like antibodies. Storms tearing across skies, absorbed into shimmering shields. And always a central rhythm, like a heartbeat too vast to measure. I gasped. "It's alive." Holt grabbed my arm, holding me upright. "Ren, talk to me." I forced the words out. "The planet. It's one organism. Everything, the city, the guardians, the forest, it's all part of a single mind." Vera's voice was hushed. "A sentient biosphere," Kale muttered. "You're saying the planet itself is conscious?" I nodded, dizzy. "Yes, and it's aware of us." The monolith pulsed again, and this time the guardians emerged from the forest edges, surrounding us in silent rows. They weren't threatening. They were waiting. I swallowed hard. "It wants something." Holt steadied me, his eyes never leaving the towering shard. "Then the question is, what test does it have in mind?" The monolith's pulse became sharper, faster. Each thrum ran through my bones like a drumbeat. I swayed on my feet, and Holt grabbed my arm to steady me. "Talk, Ren," he said firmly. "What's it doing?" I try to form words. It's evaluating. It knows we're not here to harm it, but it doesn't trust us yet. It wants proof. Dr. Vera turned in a slow circle, staring at the Guardians closing in. Proof of what? Before I could answer, the ground beneath us shifted. Not violently. No quake or crack, but smoothly, like the glass itself had liquefied and reformed. The clearing stretched wider, the forest receding. New structures rose from the ground. Walls, pillars, shifting platforms that rearranged themselves with a grinding hum. Kale muttered, "This isn't natural terrain. It's a testing ground." The Guardians moved in precise formation, lining the edges like referees in some ancient arena. Holt's jaw clenched. Then we play along. Everyone, eyes open, comms clear. No panic. The first trial began almost instantly. A series of crystal spires erupted from the ground, blocking our way back to the Odyssey. The hum grew deeper, resonant, echoing in my chest. A shape formed at the center of the clearing. One of the Guardians, taller than the rest, its surface jagged and serrated like shards of broken mirror. Vera's breath caught. It's different. Aggressive design. Holt stepped forward, steady, fearless. All right, what does it want? The answer came when the Guardian lunged. It moved impossibly fast, slicing its arm down. The blow hit the ground where Holt had stood a second before, leaving a gouge in the glass. Shards flew into the air, scattering rainbows. Kale barked. It's testing combat readiness. Holt rolled to his feet, eyes flashing. Ren, systems? I checked the suit readouts, heart racing. Shields holding. It's not trying to kill, just measure impact. Good enough, Holt snapped. He ducked another strike, this one glancing off his forearm plate. Sparks flared. He grunted, but held steady. The Guardian paused, tilting its head. Then, just as suddenly as it attacked, it stepped back and dissolved into a mist of refracted light. The hum softened. Vera's voice was shaky. That was a duel, a test of strength. I whispered, and he passed. The second trial came without warning. The ground split, revealing a chasm yawning across the clearing. It wasn't deep, maybe 10 meters, but the glass at the bottom shimmered in swirling patterns that made my stomach twist just looking at them. Holt scanned the divide. We crossed together, ran analysis. I swallowed, adjusting sensors. Radiation minimal. No structural weakness. But the patterns down there, they're hypnotic. Don't stare too long. Vera frowned. This isn't about strength. It's about trust. Kale scowled. Trust in what? Her gaze flicked to Holt, then to me. Each other. The chasm widened with a grinding noise. Holt didn't hesitate. He planted a line launcher on our side, fired across, and it latched onto the opposite wall. He clipped his harness in, one at a time. Ren, you first. My throat went dry. Me? You've been chosen before, Holt said. The planet has eyes on you. Move. I clipped in and stepped out. The line swayed under my boots, the void beneath me swirling with impossible light. My head spun, but I forced my eyes forward, one step, then another. Halfway across, the line jolted violently. Lines destabilizing. I shouted. Kale cursed. It's cutting anchors. Holt's voice was calm steel. Keep moving, Ren. Don't look down. I gripped my teeth and kept going. The line shook, but then I felt it. Another presence, steadying me. Vera's voice came through comms, gentle but firm. You're not alone, Nova. We're with you. The dizziness eased. My boots found the far edge, and I scrambled onto solid glass. Breathing hard, I turned back. One by one, they followed, Holt last, steady as ever. The chasm sealed behind him like it had never been. Vera exhaled shakily. That was coordination. Unity under pressure. Kale muttered. It's judging our cohesion as a crew. Holt's gaze lingered on me, unreadable, and it nearly cut you loose to see if we'd abandon you. I shivered. But you didn't. No, he said quietly. We didn't. The third trial was different. The Guardians shifted, their forms merging into a single archway that glowed faintly. Beyond it lay only darkness. Vera whispered another test. But of what? I stepped forward, pulse hammering. I think this one's mine. Holt grabbed my arm. You don't go alone. But the hum intensified, resonating only in my chest. I shook my head. It wants me. It won't open for anyone else. Holt's jaw tightened, but he released me. You get 5 minutes. If you're not back, I drag you out myself. I nodded and stepped through. Darkness swallowed me. My visor lights dimmed instantly, as if the glass itself absorbed every lumen. I stumbled, then froze. Shapes coalesced ahead, reflections of me. Hundreds of them. Each version stared back, some older, some younger, some broken, some triumphant. My breath caught. The hum became words in my head, not language exactly, but meaning. Who are you? Why are you here? My throat worked. I'm Nova Wren. Technician. Human. I came to understand. The reflections shifted. Some sneered. Some looked afraid. One, the youngest, maybe 15, whispered back in my voice, "Or did you come to conquer like the rest of your kind?" I shook my head, tears prickling behind my eyes. No, I don't want to conquer anything. I just want to know what you are. To listen. To learn. Silence. Then the reflections dissolved, melting back into the glass. Light returned, and the hum softened. I stumbled back through the archway into the clearing. Vera caught my arm. "Nova, what happened?" I gasped for breath. It had questioned me. It wanted to know why we're here. I told it the truth. Holt's eyes narrowed, and the truth was enough. The ground pulsed once, softly, like a heartbeat underfoot. The Guardians stepped back in unison. The monolith glowed faintly, light spilling upward into the sky. Vera whispered, "It accepted you." Kale shook his head in disbelief. "So we're what? Allies now." I stared at the pulsing monolith, feeling the rhythm in my chest sync with it. My voice was quiet, certain. "No, not yet, but it trusts us enough to give us a chance." The ground beneath us pulsed again, harder this time, a deep vibration that rattled my teeth. The monolith's glow sharpened, flaring into jagged streaks of color that shot skyward like lightning frozen mid-strike. Dr. Vera's voice was urgent. "Something's changing. That pulse, it's not directed at us anymore." Kale checked his instruments, frowning. "Magnetics off the scale." "Wait, no. Radiation spike inbound. Massive." I glanced at my display. The readings surged so fast they blurred. My stomach dropped. "That's not local. It's external. Something's coming." Captain Holt's voice was tight. "Storm." Kale nodded grimly. "A stellar flare. Cosmic scale. Big enough to scour this entire hemisphere." Vera whispered, "The planet knew. That's why it tested us." I stared at the monolith, its glow pulsing in rhythm with my own heartbeat. My voice cracked. "It doesn't just want trust. It wants help." The sky darkened unnaturally fast. Clouds formed high above, roiling, metallic black, flashing with violet arcs of energy. The air itself grew heavy, buzzing with static. Every hair on my arms prickled inside the suit. Holt barked orders. "Back to the Odyssey now. Wren, systems check. Vera, Kale, grab samples if you can." But the monolith pulsed again, stronger than before. The Guardians moved instantly, stepping between us and the path back. They weren't threatening, just blocking. Vera's voice shook. "It doesn't want us to leave." Kale growled. "You're saying it wants us to stay in a storm that could kill us?" I whispered, "Not stay. Fight. With it." Holt spun toward me. "Explain." I swallowed, struggling to find words for the impressions pressing into my skull. The Guardians, they're not just watchers. They're defense mechanisms. The planet uses them when it's under threat. But this storm is too big for them alone. It's asking us to integrate, to link with it, to help stabilize. Kale's eyes widened. "You mean plug ourselves into a planet's nervous system? That's insane." Vera's voice rose. "If we don't, it dies. And if it dies while we're here, we die too. This planet shielded itself for eons, but storms escalate. This one could crack the surface." Holt's gaze locked on me. "Can it work, Wren?" My throat tightened. I think so. It showed me before. Energy flows. Networks. If we sink Odyssey's core into the conduit, we can amplify its defense lattice. But we'll be risking overload. If it goes wrong. He cut me off, voice steel. "Then we do it right. Move." The storm hit. Lightning like molten glass split the sky, striking towers in the distance. Instead of shattering, the towers bent, conducting the energy into the ground, redirecting it in pulses that rippled outward. The glass forest glowed faintly, each tree a conduit channeling current into the monolith. But the load was too much. Cracks spidered across the clearing floor, glowing red-hot. The monolith wavered, its light flickering. Holt barked into comms. "Ren, interface now." I sprinted forward, hauling the portable sync rig from my pack. My hands shook as I clamped it against the monolith's base. The glass shivered under my touch, but instead of rejecting, it opened. Cables melted into it like veins, the rig's lights sinking in jagged bursts. The hum hit me like a wave. My head snapped back, vision flooding with light. I was inside again, not physically but connected. I saw the storm sweeping in, arcs of radiation tearing through the upper atmosphere. The planet strained, channels of glass glowing with stress. I shouted into comms, routing Odyssey's core now. Kale cursed but obeyed, his fingers flying over his slate. "Diverting mainline. You've got 30 seconds before we fry every coil we have." "30's enough," I yelled. The connection deepened. I felt the Odyssey's systems merge with the planet's lattice, our ship's reactor becoming a heartbeat, pulsing in sync with the monolith. Data streamed both ways, energy for it, visions for me. I gasped as images tore through my mind. Oceans of molten crystal cooling into continents. Storms endured for millennia. Guardians rising and falling like immune cells. And through it all, one overwhelming truth. It didn't want to die. "Hold steady," Holt shouted, bracing himself against the gale as shards of glass tore free from the ground, flying like shrapnel. Vera cried out, shielding her visor. "It's working. The lattice is stabilizing, but it's not enough." Kale growled, "We're running out of time, Ren." The planet's voice, or something like it, pressed into my mind, urgent, immense. "More. Give more." I screamed through gritted teeth. "We have to push full output." Kale swore violently. "Full? That'll melt us inside out." Holt snapped, "Do it. Ren, guide it. Now." I locked in. My hands flew over controls, venting coolant, bypassing safeties, feeding every what Odyssey could spare into the monolith. The rig glowed white-hot, cable sparking. The storm slammed into us like a tidal wave. For a moment, everything went white. My visor blacked out to keep my retinas from burning. I felt myself lift, weightless, formless, as the planet pulled me deeper into its network. I was the lattice. I felt the Guardians channeling currents through their bodies, their limbs stretched into antennae. I felt the glass forest bending, trees fracturing and reforming as conduits. I felt Holt, Vera, Kale, tiny compared to the vast system, yet essential, their signals braided into mine. We weren't just crew anymore. We were part of it. Symbiotic. The storm howled, but we held. The lattice flared across the horizon, a dome of refracted light spanning kilometers. Lightning struck and split, racing harmlessly into the shield. Radiation bent and diffused. The cracks beneath us sealed. The monolith steadied, glowing bright and pure. And then silence. The storm passed, torn apart against a defense that had never included us, until now. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, suit alarms blaring from overheated systems. Hole hauled me upright with one arm, steady as ever. "You with us, Ren?" I nodded weakly. Yeah. We did it." Vera laughed, a wild, disbelieving sound. "We helped save a planet." Kale leaned against a fractured tree, panting hard. It saved itself, and we were just batteries. The Guardians stood in silence, rows of glass statues shimmering faintly. Then, in eerie unison, they bowed their heads. The monolith pulsed once, softer now, like a sigh of relief. I whispered, half to myself, "It trusts us now, completely." The clearing was quiet, too quiet. The storm had passed, but the silence after it pressed down on me heavier than the chaos before. Dr. Vera broke it first, her voice a hush. "Did you see them bow? That wasn't instinct. That was gratitude." Kale muttered, glass soldiers showing manners. Never thought I'd live to see that. Captain Holt stood with arms folded, eyes on the monolith. His voice was measured. Gratitude or not, they're not finished with us. Ren, what do you feel? The question startled me. Holt rarely asked what I felt. He asked for readings, data, numbers. But after what had just happened, feelings were all I had. I swallowed. It wants us to follow. Downward. Deeper. The storm was a test, not the end. The ground beneath us shifted again, but this time gently, like a door unlocking. At the base of the monolith, a section of the glass floor folded open with a liquid shimmer, revealing a spiraling descent lit by pale blue light. Vera gasped. An entrance! Kale groaned. Of course, because fighting a planetary storm wasn't enough for one day. Holt's jaw set. Gear check. We're going in. We descended. The tunnel walls glowed faintly, etched with veins of light that pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. My boots clicked on glass steps that weren't carved but grown, spiraling into darkness. The deeper we went, the more I felt pressure, not physical, but mental, like thoughts pressing against my skull, vast and ancient. Vera whispered, awestruck. This isn't just architecture. It's synaptic, like walking through a nervous system. Kale muttered, wonderful. We're in the brain of a planet. I couldn't shake the sensation that he was right. The tunnel opened into a cavern so vast, I couldn't see its edges. Columns of glass stretched upward like cathedral pillars, refracting light into shimmering rainbows. In the center floated a sphere the size of a shuttle, suspended in midair, swirling with colors I didn't have names for. The moment I saw it, my chest tightened. The Etherean, I whispered. The name wasn't mine. It was given, pressed into me like a memory I'd always had, but never accessed. Vera's voice trembled. That's the consciousness, the true core. Holt's eyes narrowed. Explain. I forced words out through the flood in my mind. This planet isn't just alive. It's intelligent. The surface, the guardians, even the monoliths. They're extensions. But this is the heart, the memory, the will. Kale's slate beeped, displaying impossible readings. Energy density off the charts. We're looking at something older than our species. Hell, older than Earth's continents. The sphere pulsed once, and I felt my knees weaken. A voice, no, not a voice, more like an ocean of intent, poured through me. You understand now. I gasped, clutching my helmet. Holt grabbed my arm. Ren, what is it saying? I steadied myself, my voice shaking. It's been waiting. For us. For anyone. It's a library. A seed vault. A memory archive of civilizations it's seen and absorbed across eons. It was never just defending itself. It was defending everything it carries. Vera's eyes shone. A galactic arc. Kale shook his head slowly. And we almost fried it just by existing here. The Etherean pulsed again, flooding my vision with images. Stars collapsing, worlds burning, species rising and vanishing. Each time, fragments were gathered, preserved, woven into the lattice of glass. It wasn't just alive, it was a collector of life itself. But then the images shifted. I saw Earth. Oceans, forests, cities lit at night. Then war, fire, climate collapse, extinction curves. My throat closed. It knows about Earth, I whispered. Vera's breath caught. How? We never broadcast. Kale's face paled. Our ship's emissions. Our DNA in the samples. It read us the moment we stepped down. Holt's voice was gravel. And what's its judgment? I hesitated, then spoke the truth pressing against my skull. It doesn't want to judge us. It wants to offer itself. Its knowledge. Its defenses. But only if we're ready. The cavern was silent, except for our own ragged breaths. Kale muttered, Ready? We can't even keep peace among ourselves. Vera's voice shook, desperate. But think about it, Kale. Technology that can stabilize worlds. Cure extinction events. This could save Earth. Kale, snap back, or destroy it faster if the wrong hands get it. Holt cut them both off, voice sharp. Enough. Ren, what does it want from us specifically? I closed my eyes, feeling the intent pressing harder now. To carry its story home. To decide whether humanity should share in it. It won't force itself on us. But once we transmit, there's no taking it back. We stood at the edge of something larger than any of us, maybe larger than humanity itself. Kale broke the silence first, bitter. I vote no. Humanity isn't ready. We'll weaponize it before we even finish understanding it. Vera's eyes blazed. And if we do nothing, Earth collapses under its own weight. This could be the lifeline our species needs. Holt looked at me. Just me. His voice was low, steady. What's your call, Ren? My throat went dry. Why me? Because, he said, you're the one it chose. The one it speaks through. That makes you the bridge. And bridges decide which way to carry the weight. I looked at the Etherean. Its light pulsed once, steady, waiting. I thought of the storm we survived together, of the Guardians bowing, of the trust it gave us, fragile but real. And I thought of Earth, the noise, the chaos, the violence, but also the music, the laughter, the persistence of hope. I exhaled slowly. We take it home, but carefully, not as saviors, not as conquerors, as messengers. Vera closed her eyes, relief flooding her face. Kale cursed under his breath, but didn't argue further. Holt nodded once. Then that's the call. Ren, prep the Odyssey's transmitter. We'll send what we can. The Etherean pulsed, light rippling outward through the cavern, a wave of color that lifted us to our knees. It wasn't just approval, it was trust. For the first time, the presence didn't feel overwhelming. It felt hopeful. We made the climb back in silence, each of us carrying a different weight. When the Odyssey lifted from the glass world, I looked down one last time. The lattice glowed faintly, a living network sprawling across the horizon. And for a fleeting second, I felt it look back, not at me, but through me at the species I represented. Captain Holt's voice crackled over comms. Course set for Earth. Transmission in queue. Kale muttered. God help us if command gets greedy. Vera whispered. Or if they don't listen at all. I said nothing. I sat in my bunk long after the debrief, staring at the shard of Etherean pulsing faintly in its containment field. It didn't feel like a trophy or even a discovery. It felt like a reminder of what we had seen, what we had endured, and what had chosen to endure us. I didn't know if the world back home would ever fully understand, but I knew the planet had. And I couldn't shake the thought that what happened on Gliese-Delta 4b was less a trial and more an introduction.